Hello and welcome back to I'll Watch What They're Watching, where we're curious and adamant about cinema. And today last week we did a sort of, year-end review, kind of talked about the highs, the lows, the unexpecteds, so on and so forth of 2025. And this week we're going to be talking about kind of looking forward, what we're excited about, maybe what we're apprehensive about.
Yeah, it's gonna be another great year for movies, I'm hopeful for. It is an interesting thing, too, I think, at this point. Kiri and I started talking probably sometime around March of 2025-ish. My reference point is Sinners, right? And at a certain point following Sinners, I tried to kind of map out, these are all the movies that I am looking forward to in 2025. And I think it's interesting how looking out through an entire year, the different movies that pique your interest versus a lot of things that come up that you would have never known to look up or learn about. So it is interesting, being a little bit more plugged into various social media of people that are excited about awards races or upcoming releases or that type of thing, I think gives a good frame of reference. I think in our case today, it is a lot of the, I'd say, more popular mainstream big releases that we'll be covering today. Again, because I think right now, I'd like to be, but I think we're not as tuned in necessarily to any of the festival circuits or anything like that to know some of those smaller ones that are coming out that I'll love. I
Right.
always love those movies, but I'm excited to walk through some of my initial thoughts with either teaser trailers or teaser plot details or whatever else in between about what I'm excited for 26.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that because I've always thought the same thing. I'm like, wow, my most anticipated
Right.
rarely are my favorite movie by the end of the year. There are a couple years that come to mind where something came out in March and just took the world by storm. Sinners for sure. Sinners was this thing that I don't think anyone really knew about, and then it came out and everyone was like, you got to see this thing. And then the other one is Everything Everywhere All at Once, where same thing, not on anyone's radar, no one really knew what this thing was, and then all of a sudden everyone was like, holy crap, you got to see this thing. So I'm sure that will happen again. I'm sure there are either titles I saw or things that haven't been announced yet that will pop up sometime this year that you and I will be talking about, like, holy crap, have you seen this thing?
I have a prediction for this year's March surprise hit. And I don't actually know how it's tracking or if it is expected to do well or not, but I do have a prediction I'll share a little later.
Interesting. All right, well, do you want to...
Let's dive in, and I think a good starting point, when you saw Avatar, you mentioned that you saw a little trailer that I have seen since now of 100-year-old Patrick Stewart and 200-year-old Ian McKellen for Avengers Doomsday, because X-Men are joining Avengers Doomsday. And these things are all kind of funny, right? Because there's $600 million, right, of money going into this type of movie. So it's there's got to be some things that are exciting. And I'll say in that particular teaser, when it shows Cyclops, I'm like, that seemed kind of cool. But we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we haven't really had a full-on Marvel discussion, and so I think this is a fine place to put that in. I would be curious. I'll let you kind of go first.
Yeah, I'll be the first to admit, it was a fun time growing up, I think, when I was right in that sort of getting into teenage years, pre-tween, that type of thing that's right around, right, I was born in 97, and so when Iron Man's coming out in 2008, 2009, so right around that 10, 11, 12, and then everything's kind of following. So that always was fun. My dad was always buying those on DVD, and we would always watch those movies as they came out, essentially. And I feel like as I developed and aged, I was into it. I loved Marvel. I would go to each of the releases opening weekend usually. Saw Endgame, had a great time. And then after Endgame, it's hard for me to specifically diagnose the specific superhero fatigue that happened to me, but something definitely did happen to me. I think part of it was that's right
Ugh.
around when I really started getting into movies in general. And so I think I started seeing things like, oh, I really like this. Oh, some of these things in Marvel movies are maybe things that I actually don't like as much as I thought I did. And so I can't say I've been up to date. My last one, which I think is more recent than you based on conversations we've had, was Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which, side note, I had a great time. I thought it was a really good movie. So I think it's an interesting place, and I think there's very many people that are in a similar boat to where this new movie coming out, they literally said, this is actually a sequel to Endgame. So they looked at someone like me, perhaps, that's been engaged, and they said, all right, let's get you back. But it's an interesting, I don't know that they have like the target demographic, I think, is shifted in a way that doesn't bring them the
Right.
support or the perhaps revenue that they're hoping for. So that's where I'll start, and then I still have a
Yeah.
lot of notes left on it, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, same. Same as far as having a lot of notes on it. I remember seeing the first Iron Man. Really dug it. To this day, that's one I own on Blu-ray. I enjoy revisiting it. I saw a good chunk of them in the theaters. At the height of Marvel like fandom, I was not much of a part of that. And I think there's a few reasons to that. I think one is like
Right.
I am a huge comic book nerd and I am
Right.
a very, very big DC fan. And so at that time, so that was part of it too. Like one of the Marvel rants that I sometimes go on is I'm like, I have no problem with Marvel. I've always preferred DC, but you have these people who are like, I'm such a Marvel fan. And I'm like,
Sure.
oh, cool. What comics have you read? And they're like, oh, no, but I've seen all the Marvel movies. And I'm like, that's different. So part of that is just me being a snob and me being like, well, you're not a fake fan because you haven't read the comics, which isn't true. I'm very grateful for the film franchises to pull some of these things out. But my net is a little wider. I have comics. I watch the DC animated films. I watch TV shows, animated and not. And yeah, I don't know. Like I still have not seen Infinity War and Endgame simply because I don't really care. And, like, I remember during the hype of it, and people were like, "You gotta go see it, you gotta go see it," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm sure I will eventually," and that's kinda still where I'm at, is I'm like, "I probably maybe will at some point." I don't
So
care all that
I'm
much.
not telling you to care at all. Just
Okay.
a data point for you to consider. I did see as we were looking through this, there is a Endgame release date in 2026, a re-release date in preparation for Doomsday. No, but
That does
maybe
not
a data
surprise
point
me.
to consider is if you're ever gonna go see that movie, perhaps then is the time to. Yeah, and I think from a like culmination of years and movies and actors, like it is an amazing thing that happened. And
Uh,
and again, I'm not saying I dislike Marvel entirely by any means. There is just such a wide, net now that's been cast on all these different movies that like it's okay, I think, to have preferences and tastes on different things that you do enjoy or that you do find valuable out of the Marvel franchise, right?
Totally, and just one thing I was gonna say, it sounds like I'm ragging on Marvel a lot, and I am a little bit, but there are like I still have movies in the Marvel franchise that I'm like 10 out of 10 this is really good. Like I really like Winter Soldier. I really like the first two Guardians of the Galaxy. I haven't seen the third. Like there's a good chunk of the Marvel movies that I'm like I like these. I think these are solid. They did get a little one note for me. Like for me they got a little bit like, well, if you've seen one, have you seen them all? And I do think it's a really interesting point with what you bring up with Infinity War and Endgame. It's really this kind of wild phenomenon where you have a few decades of these characters that people love and have been following from, like, for you,
Right.
literally from childhood to adulthood, like these, or teens to adulthood. Most of Marvel was some in the teens, but a lot in adulthood as well. So on that point, I'm like, I get it. And I think for a lot of people, the fatigue did kind of hit after Endgame because you had this big lead up. You knew it was leading up to something. Thanos had been in play for a decade or more. And then Endgame was kind of the closure that I think a lot of people needed. And a lot of people were happy then leaving Marvel to rest. And Disney was like, no, we still have all these more plans. And part of the problem is Disney wasn't making films that were as quality. Like they weren't as I don't know if star-studded is the right word in some of the VFX and stuff, but they just weren't making things that were as interesting. And this seems like Doomsday seems like they're really trying hard to kind of jumpstart the franchise again, especially because like their next big phase was supposed to be Kang the Conqueror. And that completely fell apart for numerous reasons. And so I think that like Doctor Doom is a good call. I think he's an interesting Marvel villain. I do think that the minute they announced RDJ, I was like, ooh, this smacks of desperation.
I also can't not admit that there's a part of me that's like, that's kind of a cool concept that Iron Man was so pivotal in this like leadership role to all these superheroes. And now, with the multiverse, they're going to be manipulated by this other version of him that's actually a supervillain. I think there's a part of me that thinks that is somewhat of an intriguing thing to happen as far as the movie goes. But I think you're right. It still seems quite desperate. It still seems they're kind of preying on that factor of just a name rather than making something that's good, which is concerning. I think there's two movies too that we've talked about that do highlight some of the issues currently. So I think part of it is that so much of Marvel they introduced the multiverse, which I think is okay in a contained story, like one thing. But to have everything be the multiverse, I think can cause some immediate issues, which is addressed in Everything Everywhere All at Once, right?
Yeah.
And we talked through that at the time of like,
Right.
they were kind of the writers, the Daniels. Yeah, I was reading some interviews in preparation for our podcast, and they were kind of talking like, well, the story doesn't really work because there's no stakes if you have a multiverse. So let's just take that to the natural conclusion, which is nothing matters. And right, that's the whole point of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again, we've talked about that. You can go back and listen to one of our first episodes where I talk more in detail about that. But so I think that's one issue I have, right? Is like the stakes, the things going on. I'm just kind of like, okay, like the overall, and it's simple in the Endgame trilogy, right? The Infinity Stones, the Tesseract, all that kind of stuff. But like at the same time, I think it logically makes sense, and like you can understand and follow through what the goal is. And here I'm like, okay, I'm not engaged with what the goal is necessarily. The second thing I'll mention really quick, or you can touch on what I shared there.
Just, yeah, I think I guess I was expecting more lead up to Doomsday because they did announce it a couple years ago. So I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. I haven't kept up a ton with Marvel, but like they did Deadpool and Wolverine, which was a hit. But then like I can't really remember much of what they've done since. So I don't know if there's any lead up to Doomsday or if they're just kind of forgetting that some of these recent movies happened. I'm because I will probably go see it because I know the podcast, but it'll be interesting to see.
My understanding is Fantastic Four did have some, not like direct, but yeah, so I know that Fantastic Four I think has some elements that will be there. So my other thing I wanted to mention, another conversation we had was I saw the TV glow, right? And part of the conversation that we had was this feeling of nostalgia, and that like culturally, if you don't if you can't move on from something nostalgic and you're trying to like recreate it, it's never the same as it was, and it just kind of leaves society in general sort of stunted. So there's this kind of like dark side of nostalgia that's possible. I'm not saying nostalgia is bad, but so I think that's the other feeling that I have about this is like bringing the gang back together just a few years later, and seeing that so much in recent Hollywood, it does feel a little stunted. It does feel a little unoriginal, or just not
Yeah.
moving things forward, not really meeting the moment of where we are at right now, and kind of what the stories and things that we want to. Unlike, I would say right now, like we've talked about last week, I think Superman did that really well. So I obviously Doomsday hasn't come out. I haven't seen it. I'm just kind of predicting,
Right.
yeah,
We could
maybe
be
it's
eating our
amazing.
words a
And
year from now.
honestly, I hope, right? We want movies to be good. We want to go see them. So it'll be
Right.
interesting. Now, isn't there also a new Spider-Man coming out sometime this year?
Yes. I forget what it's
Like Brand New Day
called.
or something?
I was literally about to say brand new something. Yes, I think you're right. I think it's Brand New Day.
Don't they all have like home names or something? Homecoming, Far From Home.
It was, but I think the whole idea was that was kind of the original trilogy. It was Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. But there was a time where we didn't know if Spider-Man was only going to be a trilogy. And to be fair, I'm actually glad they're continuing Spider-Man simply because we've seen Spider-Man in high school done so many, and I personally think some of the best comics happen when Spider-Man is in college.
Okay, rank your top three, rank your three live action Spider-Mans. I don't know the plural. Spider-Mans.
I think Toby's my I don't know. I think Toby's the best. I think Toby's the best Peter Parker. I think Andrew is the best Spider-Man, and I think Tom is the best combination of the two.
I actually think that is correct. Yeah, no, good job being correct. Yeah, so Spider-Man, let me look up when it comes out, since this is like a podcast or whatever, and people probably are wondering.
I think it's a summer blockbuster.
July 31st. Interesting. Yeah. Well.
Yeah. So it'll be one of the summer blockbusters, and then Doomsday will take over as far as a winter blockbuster. Yeah. So that's Doomsday, but there are so many other things that are coming out.
We haven't gotten to this. As of right now, you love The Mandalorian. We love The Mandalorian. So we're excited that Mandalorian and Grogu comes out May 22nd. So coming up pretty soon. This has also had a lot of conversation recently. In particular, people have been like, uh-oh, the hype for this does not seem to be going in a positive direction. And even further internally, it's a big question mark at Lucasfilm right now, even to the extent that I just saw the other day. It looks like Kathleen Kennedy is out as CEO, and Dave Filoni is going to be in, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I saw a post by Jamel Bowie, who's this New York Times columnist, really great guy, really, really good follow. And he basically said the best CEO of Star Wars is someone who doesn't give a shit about Star Wars and only cares about making good TV and movies. And I think that is probably accurate to where we are at as a Star Wars fandom right now, right? That there's have you ever seen jokes about a glup shitto? Okay. It's it's one of those like internet jokes that has been around for a while that would take a lot of things to explain to you, and by the time I explained it to you, you would be like, this guy's crazy. But it's basically taking this idea of there's all this random stuff and lore in Star Wars, and so you have these TV shows or movies coming out now, and it's like, oh, this connects to this and this connects to this. Oh, and that's that guy from that one obscure comic thing. Oh my gosh. And it is losing at the face of I'm not going to get too much more into this because we're going to have dedicated episodes on this. But yeah, most people aren't excited about this. I do still love The Mandalorian. I still am excited, honestly, about this. I think there are potential issues. You're going to be mad at this, but I still enjoy Solo. And so I think as the standalone movie coming out, I'm still optimistic for something being fun and enjoyable and a good time. It is a weird thing of, hey, you should probably watch 3.5 seasons of TV shows before you come see this movie. Just a different world we're living in, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, not to go back to the Marvel conversation, but I do think that is one thing too, is they were kind of doing this, everything ties into everything else, and so to see a new movie, it was almost like, well, I have to watch 5 movies and 2 TV series to even be able to keep up. And so, I don't know, pros and cons with that. I think you said it. I'm still kind of new to the Mandalorian thing, so I don't have my eyes quite wide open with that. It's on my radar, and again, because I host a podcast, I'll probably be seeing it. But one thing that I've kind of been saying for movies a lot lately, or maybe more in recent years, that I've been thinking about is just like, man, I would love if they did classic books. Like, I remember being like, man, I would love a rendition of like Picture of Dorian Gray or whatever. And they're coming in hot in February with Wuthering Heights, which I am curious about. Like I wrote in my notes, legit think it could be real good. Jacob Elordi, Margot Robbie. The director and writer also did Promising Young Woman, which I've seen. I know you haven't, and I've said before that might be an interesting conversation. And Saltburn.
I do think that gives a little bit more hype associated with it just based on those. I do think I don't know anything about Wuthering Heights, but I have been seeing some short form videos of people like, it's going to be great when everyone realizes that everyone in this story is the worst person alive. So
yes, I do think it's because I read Wuthering Heights in high school. I don't remember much of it, but I remember thinking like, I thought Heathcliff was kind of a crappy dude. So it definitely is going to be interesting. The movie is very, very romanticized right now. And I am curious, again, with the director-writer doing Saltburn and Promising Young Woman, because both of those movies have some bite to them.
Right.
They are not these lovely little, like they're
yeah, no doubt.
They have some moments where they're kind of nasty films. So that will be interesting. I am very curious to see how it plays out. I do love Margot Robbie. I love Jacob Elordi. So I do think it's definitely on my radar. I don't know much. I don't know that there's much to say right now, especially because it has been so long since I've read the book. But I think it could be really good, and I think I would like to see more of this type of thing in the theaters.
When we talked about this, I have February 13th circled on my calendar. It is a very interesting day for movies. So Wuthering Heights just talked through. Another one that I think this will be a hit. I'll come out and say that right now. And that is, it's not the one I was saying at the beginning, but I think this will be a hit, is GOAT, which is the animated basketball movie starring Caleb McLaughlin, fresh off of Stranger Things. Steph Curry producing, so you can kind of see a lot of that story in it. And it's the same animation style that Sony's been working with as far as Ninja Turtles, Spider-Verse, K-pop Demon Hunters. So I think that there is a lot of goodwill built over the last few years for this particular animation studio. Yeah, I think Caleb McLaughlin is a draw. I think basketball. I think Steph Curry. I think there's a lot of potential here. Now, I think where it could go wrong is if it's too like self-cultural aware, if that makes sense. Like if it's too trying to just kind of, connect with the kids, I think that's where it could feel like this isn't going to last. This is just kind of a snapshot sort of movie that's working with this framework. So I'm really curious. I think it's going to be a hit, but time will tell.
This is one that I literally I don't know, and I'll just talk briefly because I know we have a lot to talk about. I have no idea where I land on this. Because sometimes I watch the trailers and I'm like, this is gonna be dumb and goofy as hell. And then sometimes I watch the trailer and I'm like, this could be something. So I have no idea. I have no idea where that one's gonna go.
Next one, I don't know much about this one, but the cast itself, Crime 101 with Chris Hemsworth, Mark Ruffalo, Barry Keoghan, and Halle Berry. That alone, those four, I'm like, okay, some of these will choose movies that aren't great, but I trust Mark Ruffalo, I trust Barry Keoghan, to where then combining them with Halle Berry and Chris Hemsworth, I'm like, okay, I think there's probably some potential there. So I'm curious. I haven't seen a trailer. I don't know Bart Layton, who's the director, writer. I'll look him up later, see if there's anything, or maybe I'll look it up right now just to see if for a reference. Bart, not looking like anything I recognize. He has one. Looks like he's fairly early in the career, but he did win a BAFTA for Outstanding Debut by a British writer, director, producer. So I think there's a good reason to believe this will be a good. But that one brings me to my fourth release, February 13th. Again, this seems like a crazy day. This is my prediction for surprise hit of the year, which is Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die.
Okay.
So this is Gore Verbinski, who is the director of Pirates of the Caribbean and a couple other things. So this one,
okay.
I would recommend watching the trailer. It's about this guy that shows up in a diner, and he's a time traveler, and he's like, hey, I need to recruit some people to help me fight the war against AI robots. It goes really bad in the future, and obviously things pursue from there. So I don't know. I just think it seems like a very fun plot, and I think Gore Verbinski is a good director. So I think I just have this gut feeling. I have this prediction. I think this is what I'm going to keep my eye on as something that is a surprise February hit.
All right. Again, we will probably be seeing all of these, or at least one of us will, so we can talk about it on the podcast. A couple others that I've just kind of thrown on here as just that we don't need to get, because there's a few that I know that we both want to really get into, but just a few that I kind of have on my radar just coming up. All You Need Is Kill, which the movie Live, Die, Repeat, Edge of Tomorrow is based on the book All You Need Is Kill. It's being turned into a Japanese anime. It's coming out by the time this releases. It will be released. So yeah, it's coming out the weekend of the 15th. It looks to be really something cool. I'm excited about it.
Yes.
Coyote versus Acme. Knock on wood, but this movie has been, yes, it's happening, no, it's not, yes, it is, no, it's not, yes, it is, no, it's not. It's pretty much locked and loaded, ready to go, and it is finally getting released the end of this year. I would say if you want some idea of how this is trending, on HBO Max, there is, I think it's called The Day the World or The Day the Earth Blew Up or something like that. Daffy Duck, Porky Pig. But it's kind of this little, like, Looney Tunes resurgent, and so this is literally, it's a courtroom drama comedy.
So I think you're underselling the drama behind this movie. Everyone needs to go see this movie because of the drama behind it. Basically, long story short, is that Warner Bros., this movie was done. This movie was filmed. It was edited. It was completed. It was
it's locked and
complete
loaded.
Movie. And Warner Bros., this happens every once in a while with movies. He said, we're not going to release this. We're going to write it off. It's going to be like a tax write-off or whatever. Basically killing the movie. It's never going to be released. It's a failure.
Because they couldn't find a platform, like, really to release it. That's the thing. They weren't sure it was going to make money. they weren't getting paid enough for, a distributor. They weren't finding a distributor who was willing to pay them enough for this movie.
Exactly. So then they just said, we're never going to release this, which is where Catch-Up Entertainment came in. And that's what the movie that Kiri was talking about, The Day the Earth Blew Up, they came in and they said, we're going to do this. We love Looney Tunes. We're going to distribute Looney Tunes. So this is one that feels like a miracle that we have potential to see.
Well, but before then, that's the thing. I'm like, if you really want to get into the drama, it was picked up like a couple times. It was picked up by, I don't remember who it was, someone, but then Amazon picked it up and Amazon was like, we'll release it. It'll be on Prime. And me and my friend were like, heck yes, we're so excited. We're finally going to get, I remember being like, yeah, Coyote and Acme, oh, it's so sad that it died. And then it was like, oh, we might be getting it. This is so exciting. Yeah. Oh, no, it died again. So that's the thing is it kind of has been this on again, off again thing for a while, and it was looking like it was only going to be 2 streaming, but it looks like it's actually getting a release now.
The two funny outcomes
again,
here
knock on wood.
Are, one, it makes $1 bazillion. That's hilarious, right? And it's like, studio heads, you're dumb.
Mm-hmm.
The other funny one is that it is a really bad movie. People like us go and see it just in spite, even though it's a bad movie, but I expect it to be at a bare minimum fun. I think that was what I got from The Day the Earth Blew Up, was a lot of people were like, no, this is really fun. This is a good time. So I think it will be at a bare minimum fun, but both of those two options would be quite funny. So sorry to make you drive deeper into that, but I think it is a really interesting kind of background for that one.
Yeah, no, you're good. And then another one that is just on my radar a little bit. Steven Soderbergh has one called The Christophers. It's an art heist film, stars Ian McKellen. I think also has potential to be really good. You and I both saw he did Black Bag last year. He just seems to be popping out these little things. He did Black Bag as well as another one last year. But you and I both quite enjoyed Black Bag, so that's another one on my radar. And then this one, I don't want to get into this one yet because I think you and I would have a lot to say about it, and I maybe want to dedicate a little bit more time. But the Narnia films.
Yeah, I am curious about this one too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Greta Gerwig, she kind of hit the ground running with Lady Bird, which one time we might do an episode on that. I liked it, didn't love it, but I've only seen it once. Loved Little Women, but I love the Little Women book. And then I liked Barbie. When I first saw it, I think I was very, very hot and heavy with it. It's cooled on me a little bit. It'll be interesting to see, but yeah, I know that they're starting with The Magician's Nephew. Narnia is pretty near and dear to my heart. I have a beautiful, partially illustrated book of all of them. I will probably do a read through for these movies. I don't know. I do have some concerns. I know kind of one of the big things was, Aslan might be portrayed as female. I don't know if that's a gripe for me, other than I don't want it to just be a statement, if that makes sense.
Sure.
If it's because that works better for the film and Meryl Streep, auditioned and everything worked and this is going to be magical, then great. Full send. I am concerned that it's going to be no, we're going to make Aslan a woman now. And I'm just like, well, okay, but why?
I understand that concern. I think Greta Gerwig has done enough for us to trust, but I do understand that concern a little bit. I think I'd be more concerned if initial reporting ended up true that she was considering Charlie XCX to be the White Queen. That would have been interesting.
Because I will say this about, I will probably also do a watch through of the first round of Narnia movies that were not hits. Tilda Swinton as the White Queen, man, I would be fine if we just brought her right back.
I was thinking the same thing. She's great.
She's fabulous.
And similarly, I was gonna say too, I do have a little bit of a history too. We have all the books. I think I've read them all at some point, or my dad read them to us at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe somewhere in the middle there, 4 or 5, I maybe have missed over time. But I know for sure, first 3, the last one, which is actually the first one,
Mm.
And then 6 is the last battle. I think I've hit that one as well. So yeah, it's could be a fun review of us to do of books and movies and kind of going through that whole thing when that comes out. Is that a fall release? When is that planned to release?
I think that's winter, like around like November. It might even be Christmas. I don't know off the top of my head. Christmas sounds
Okay,
right though,
okay.
honestly.
The other good thing about it though is that I know Greta Gerwig was really adamant and vocal about a theatrical release, even though it's a Netflix film.
Right.
So I'm hoping that plays out in a way that it makes its way to Yakima, Washington, but we
Oh,
shall
that's
see.
right. That's right. It's a November 2026 IMAX because it's going to release on Christmas on Netflix. That's what it is.
Okay, that's a good strategy. But I personally I do trust Greta Gerwig enough that I think that this will be a good interpretation, but time will tell. People sometimes don't deliver, so I guess we'll see.
Yeah. And then again, the last one I just want to just touch on before we really start to get into the big three that we're really excited for. Spielberg's new UFO movie starring Emily Blunt, Disclosure
Yes.
Day. I feel like there's really not much that's known about it other than Spielberg's UFO film. Like, the trailers are obscure, and I think that's on purpose. And no one seems to really quite know what this thing is other than Spielberg UFO sci-fi, which honestly I'm in.
Yeah, no, me too. This is definitely in my top 10 or so. I don't have much else to say about it, but definitely I'll run through a few more as
Yeah.
well that are just on the periphery of my interest. Project Hail Mary. Yeah, Project Hail Mary coming out March 20th. I read this book probably
Really?
4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, a long time ago.
Interesting. Okay.
So I have been locked into understanding the development of this for a long time. This is one that like Ryan Gosling was attached to this like 5 years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago. So
Dang.
this is, yeah, a long time coming. This is one, I said this the other day to some family members that have read the book, and one of them said, I don't think that's true, so take this with a grain of salt. But if you haven't read the book, do not watch this trailer. Do everything you can to not watch this trailer. Because there is something about this story that is very unique that the trailer spoils, that when you're reading the book, it is a very, very exciting reveal and thrilling. So I'm very, I think this will work. I think I like Ryan Gosling, but I think you look at previous Andy Weir adaptations, a la The Martian, and I think that in general, it's a similar story, with different things going on, obviously. But I think that, oh my gosh, is that who I think it is that's also in this? Hold on. Sandra, I don't know how to say it. Hewler? Yes, this movie's going to be great.
Okay.
This is the woman that was the lead actress in Anatomy of a Fall, and she was also in The Zone of Interest. She's one of our best living actresses. She's amazing. So just knowing that she's attached to this, great. But yeah, this is a really, really good book. Like, it was one of my favorite books that I read, like a 5-star book for me. I bought it for my mom for Christmas. So I have a lot of expectations, but I think the premise is, again, it's similar to The Martian. I think the framework is there. I think there's very potential. So I think this is also, you talk about your March big hit. This has a lot of potential for that too, I think. Other two I'll mention briefly. We're getting another Hunger Games movie. Funny enough, I actually haven't seen The Ballad of Songbird and Snakes, but I have read all of them. So I read that one.
I have not.
I read this one, Sunrise on the Reaping. Might be one of the better. Well, they're all good. Only 5 books, and they're all very good. But this one was in particular really, really good. So I think this movie will be good.
Okay, cool.
And then Werewolf also releases on Christmas.
Right. Werewolf.
Robert. Yep, Werewolf. It's spelled WERWULF.
I know, I'm just saying it goofy.
Robert Eggers. No, you're saying it how it's spelled
Werewolf.
like that. So Robert Eggers, he's bringing the whole crew back together. Willem Dafoe, Lily Rose Depp, Aaron Taylor Johnson, Ralph
Uh-huh.
Ineson. So this will be, another Nosferatu, another witch, another period piece, another. There's no way it goes wrong, right? This is his kind of wheelhouse.
This is what he does. Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be a good time. So yeah.
Yeah, but I know there's kind of three that we each kind of picked three that we're really looking forward to. The first one on my list, I mean, this should not surprise anyone, but my number 3, I'm really stoked for Supergirl.
Yep.
It's based on Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. That's a comic book. If you want to go check it out, it's good. Jason Momoa is playing Lobo, who is a comic book villain, and I think that is, like, if you look up just pictures of Lobo, this is perfect casting. I'm excited for it. I feel like we still don't know much about it yet. They've been really good. Gunn has been really good about kind of keeping some of these things under wraps. So, like, we didn't know much about Superman until it came out. And that kind of seems to be the thing with Supergirl. She's based on the Woman of Tomorrow comics. She's kind of a loose cannon. She likes to party. She is in some ways not at all what Clark Kent is, and I think it's gonna be a rip-roaring good time, is basically kind of how I think about it in my head, is I'm like, I think this is gonna be a blast.
Yeah, I think Superman gave me enough to be committed to seeing this pretty early on when it releases, because, yeah, I'm excited to see what comes next.
Me too. And then there is Clayface coming out, but again, we know next to nothing about that, so we'll see how I feel about after Supergirl.
Yeah. So my number 3, or my pick is Digger, coming out October 2nd of 2026. It is a stacked cast again.
Your boy Tom Cruise.
For me, Tom Cruise, Jesse Plemons, Riz Ahmed, and this is directed by Alejandro Iñárritu, who did Birdman. He did
Iñárritu.
Iñárritu. He did Birdman. He did Another Round, I think is what it's called. So this is a director that is very trusted, that makes really good movies that are critically, well received. I have no idea what it's about. No one has any idea what it's about, but it's supposed to be a dramedy. And what's most intriguing for me is this is Tom Cruise's first non-action role in like 15 years, I was looking at. Just, it's what he loves to do, right? He is Mr. Movies. He's Mr. Stuntman. But I think he is vastly underrated as an actor. And so I'm really, really excited to see. And I think what makes Tom Cruise such a fun person to watch on the screen is no matter what he's doing, he is giving it his all. He will do anything to have the vision of the director like put onto the screen. Yeah. Like his performance again is just such a unique perspective. Or, Interview with a Vampire is another great example of like that dude is just an actor. Like he's born to be in movies. It's all he cares about in life, seemingly. We'll talk more about Tom Cruise later, but I'm just very, very intrigued and very excited about this movie coming out.
Yeah. And then the next one on my list, which I know is on yours as well, is Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey.
Yep. Same place on my list, so we can just talk through it right here.
Yeah. It's interesting because I am not like a Christopher Nolan stan. Actually, I'm one of the few people like on the planet. I really didn't care for Oppenheimer. I thought it was fine.
Oh, interesting.
I thought that, there were parts of it that were really well done, but I thought he doesn't know how to write women. I thought I thought the women in Oppenheimer were criminally miswritten, I'll say. So I I don't know. I like Prestige. I like Inception. I like Dunkirk. I like the Batman trilogy. I just think in general, there's a lot of Christopher Nolan stuff that I like, but like I know people who are like Christopher Nolan, like screaming fangirls, basically. Like there are people who are big Christopher Nolan fanboys, fan
Yeah,
people.
I'd put myself into the Christopher Nolan screaming fangirl
Okay,
category for sure.
great.
So I have no reason to believe that this won't be an insane movie that is perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I got to see like a really extended trailer pre Fire and Ash with
Oh,
them
okay.
like with a lot of it was kind of a, edited to be shorter because it was a trailer, but it was kind of this extended version of them finding the Trojan horse getting in, them sneaking out of the horse, just kind of the whole beginning of this. And I was like, this looks great. The cast got me excited about it at first. I think Anne Hathaway as the wife is gonna be great. You've got Matt Damon as Odysseus. You have Tom Holland as his son. You've got, why can't I remember his name?
Mia Goth, Zendaya, Robert Pattinson.
Just there's a lot of good stuff I think coming down the pipeline for this. Again, coming off the heels of Oppenheimer, I'm like, there are some really strong, really fascinating female characters in The Odyssey. And I'm like, don't you mess this up. I think Circe, the witch, is fascinating. There's, I forget her name, but the one who invites Odysseus to just stay with her forever, that he kind of has a fling with. Like, she's, I think, really interesting. And then his wife. So I think you've got three really, really amazing, fascinating female characters. And I really, really hope they are given justice, basically. That is my biggest concern, but I think there's a lot about this that could be really exciting. I think, he's using fairly limited green screen, considering that you could do all of this in a studio, and he's not. He shot on the sea, which is not easy. I think this has some solid potential.
There's something about there's like 1,000,000 feet of film or something because he filmed it all in IMAX, or it was like some record for the amount of film. I don't think this is one I'll try to figure out a way to go see in IMAX.
Same.
Drive down
I'm going to see
somewhere,
this on
do
the biggest
something.
possible screen I can find.
Just because this is an event. This is something
Yeah.
this will be crazy. I'll do my most anticipated, which is Dune Part 3. Right? Nothing more to say. I love Dune. I have read Dune, the book, and I have read most of Dune Messiah, which, for anyone that doesn't know, Dune Part 1, Dune Part 2 are both adaptations of Dune, which is one book, but there are like 4 or 5 of the mainline Dune books.
Right.
There's Children of Dune, there's God Emperor, and so my understanding is that this is the last Denis Villeneuve. Last
You
time
got
I
it.
messed it up, so I'm messing up again. Anyways, this is the last of his trilogy, but he has said that he wants to incorporate elements of some of these later books, which is really exciting. I haven't read all of them. Some of them get really, really weird, get a little bit out there, but I know the general plot lines. Again, I've read most of Messiah and I've read some of the things, but I think what's most exciting for me is that if this is one of those movies, Dune 1, Dune 2, where it is easy to be like, yeah, Paul Atreides, this guy's great. But I think this will be very, very unequivocal with the messaging of kind of where this, emperor of the universe lies.
Yeah. This is almost like Paul Atreides' Darth Vader arc.
Yeah. So I'm really, really excited. There's no reason, again, for me to not trust. First two were great. Anything that Denis Villeneuve does is just out of this world, literally. So I'm very excited and can't wait for Dune Part 3, December 18th. So sharing IMAX screens with Doomsday or something
Yeah.
like they're taking the IMAX screens or I don't know, but it's same release day. So I will be there day one for Dune. I'm not sure if I'll be there day one for Doomsday, but what did you say? Doomsday?
Yeah, well, because I was trying to think of, I was like, well, there was Barbenheimer a couple years ago, so I was like, it'll probably be Dunes Day.
Yeah, yeah, that's a great marketing already there. So we'll see if there's I don't know that
We'll see if,
either of these needs a boost, but yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then mine literally popped up on my list last night. It was as I was kind of scrolling through. Godzilla Minus Zero is getting a
Yes.
release date in North America in November. And so I immediately was like, I'm really sorry, Odyssey. Boop, Godzilla Minus Zero.
I'm
I
so
got
glad you saw that. I saw that too, but I had already sent my notes in. This would have made my probably not my 3, but it would have made my other just outside list cuz yeah, I this should be awesome.
I mean, Godzilla Minus One, I literally got on 4K for Christmas this past year. Godzilla Minus, like, it's crazy that this is I have a lot of faith in this because, and this is me, this is a shame of mine. I actually still have not seen Minus One.
What?
It was a thing that I planned to see it a few times in theaters. Things fell through. I had kept meaning to see it when it came out, kept meaning to see it. Was having a hard time getting my hands on it. And then just like various things, weird things have happened that I haven't been able to see it. Got it on 4K for Christmas. Was planning on watching it sometime in the next couple weeks, and then it announced Godzilla Minus Zero. So this might be disingenuous of me to put it as number one, and I don't know, I may or may not edit out that I haven't seen minus one, but
No, you got to keep it in.
but like I really like Godzilla as a as a Japanese franchise. I like Godzilla when it's done well. I grew up with this 1970s cartoon of it, so Godzilla has always kind of had like a place in my heart, I guess. Like I loved the 1970s cartoon as a kid. I've seen enough of Godzilla Minus One that I'm like, holy crap, like these VFX. I think it's a very interesting contrast to like Oppenheimer that came out the same year. And so, I don't know, like I said, probably disingenuous of me to put it as number one. It probably belongs more around number 3. But again, I trust enough people who love Minus One, and I've seen enough clips of Minus One that I'm like, we're getting another one of these, 10-4, I'm all in. Well, and I'm always, maybe not super disingenuous, I get really excited when I know that international films are coming to the US and are getting buzz. Like, that makes me excited. I mentioned to Sarah last night, because I was coming off of watching a Ghibli film, I was watching Pompoko, and then I saw the Godzilla Minus Zero thing and got super excited. And I told her, I was like, I think Japanese cinema is my favorite cinema. And she goes, yeah, I've known this for a while. So, but in general, like, I love when we see, something French that comes here. I love when we see something Mexican that comes here. So, like, this is exciting for me just in general. I mean, Neja too, that was exciting to me simply because I was like, what is this phenomenon? This is crazy. So Godzilla Minus Zero is one of those things where I really don't know much about, but I am excited that Minus One did well enough that we're getting another one, and that it is coming pretty rapidly to North America. That in and of itself is exciting to me, regardless of the movie.
3 things. Number 1, I love Minus Zero. Minus
Okay.
One. This is Minus Zero's coming out. I love Minus
Mm-hmm.
One. Great movie. Number 2, I think you make a great point that these VFX are very good and very unique.
I mean, it won the Oscar.
I wouldn't use Oppenheimer as like the opposite example of that, because they also did a lot of really cool practical things, like
not VFX, just a story about the bomb.
Oh, sure. Well, you haven't gotten
more what
to that makes sense. We're gonna have a fun discussion when we do our Ghibli episodes on one of them. I won't.
Yes.
That is very interesting in that regard. And number 3, thanks for clarifying that, though. That makes more sense. But number 3, This is a really interesting thing because the rights to Godzilla are kind of weird, where I think it's Illumination or Universal. They have the rights to make Godzilla movies. That's why we're getting these, like Godzilla vs. Kong, all those different, the Godzilla from a couple of years ago, and some of those movies, which I chose Pacific Rim in my creature features. I love these types of movies. I'll watch almost any of them because it's very, very hard to go wrong when you're doing that. I think Godzilla Minus One is an example that you say, okay, yes, it is hard to go wrong, but also you can go really, really right, which they did.
Cool.
But anyways, it is this funny deal where the deal says Japan can still make as many Godzilla movies as they want. We don't care. But you are only allowed to release in the US in a year when there is no other Godzilla movie coming from this other studio.
Right.
And so that's why, we get this. There's no other, as far as I know, no other Godzilla movie coming out this year. But when I was trying to see Minus One, I couldn't. It was this weird thing, but not even that. It wouldn't even play a VOD. So I had to wait a long time. I missed like the small theatrical window based on the timing of like the year of when they were allowed to in this really small window, but then they couldn't because the next year there was going to be one or something. So that is just kind of a funny thing with these movies. Maybe the deal's changed since then, but yeah, just a funny way that the rights of Godzilla works. But I'm really excited. I'm glad you shouted that one.
So super stoked for that one. Couple things to just wrap up. I am seeing the Korean film No Other Choice today. So I'll be talking about that next week. As well as I'm going to try to see Is This Thing On?
I saw Is This Thing On last night.
Sweet. So we can talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that next week. So those two in particular. And then I'm also going to see All You Need Is Kill. So I'm hoping to have those three to chat about next episode.
am contemplating. We'll see if it happens. I'm contemplating 28 years later and then going to see Bone Temple, which releases on Friday. So
okay.
We'll see if that happens.
I
May
have
not.
seen zero of that franchise, so that I will have some catching up to do on that one if I do decide to see it.
Yeah, and I tried watching 28 Days Later and just wasn't into it in the moment. So I'll probably still skip that and just go to 28 years, but we'll see.
Well, there's 28 weeks, too.
Yeah, I've heard that one isn't very good, though.
Oh, okay, fair enough. Cool. So we got, lots of things coming up the docket. But Adam, what are we watching?
In particular, for next week, we are watching Memento by Sir Christopher Nolan, right?
Right.
His third film. So that'll be a fun conversation. And we are pairing that charts pick with the arts pick, David Lynch's Mulholland Drive, which I know very little about, except for both have similar themes of amnesia. From Kiri's expression in our conversations, I presume it is an out there type of movie, which I'm all here for. So we'll see where I'm at when we talk next.
Yeah, I also don't know as much about this as I would like because I've kind of been told it's good to go in blind. I just know that it's bonkers. It's one of again, another film confession. I have not seen a David Lynch film, and I've been told the one to go in, the one to start with, or the one that's tamest, is Elephant Man. So I've been trying to gear up for Elephant Man for a little while, and then Adam comes in and is like, just kidding, we're starting with Mulholland Drive. So, No, it'll be good. I'm honestly super excited. I haven't seen either of these, so I'm stoked.
Yeah, cool.
And then, of course, the Ghibli coming up. But we are on Instagram. If you would do us a huge favor, subscribe, follow us both on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on Instagram. I think we might try to get a TikTok up at some point, but that really does help us out. If you like these episodes and would, willing to share them, interact with us on Instagram, we love that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we really appreciate everyone who listens. We're kind of getting, kind of had a slow time during the holidays, but we're hoping to hit the ground running with this new year. So thank you very much, and we will catch you guys next week.
See ya.